Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The Red, White, and Bills. It's been a minute. The offseason took a pretty crazy turn yesterday. We'll talk about a couple of things that happened. And I'll probably be bringing back content again at least once or twice a week. And then, of course, we'll be starting up this Saturday, the Red, White, and Ruthless show again at Nickel City Mafia. So head over there, subscribe to them, and we'll be giving you shows on Saturday nights again. And we'll see as the off season goes, how the schedule goes for our channel over here. But it'll start kicking up, even more so in the next week. But you read the title correctly, the Buffalo Bills Massacre, courtesy of Brandon Beane. And I'm going to tell you my feelings about it. I'm going to keep this kind of brief and short. And I'd love to hear your opinions in the comment section. So we just saw a couple Buffalo Bills greats, Mitch Morse, Trey White, and Jordan Poyer specifically get cut from this team. And, before I get into that, the other day, I think it was on WGR. I think my friends at Mafia Sports Report were talking about this last week. But Steve Tasker brought up maybe Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde eventually will be Wall of Fame candidates for, the Buffalo Bills. And then just to see Jordan Poyer get cut like that, you're kind of just like, man, that's disrespectful a little bit. But that was just a thought in my mind. And when it comes down to it, I'm not mad that players got cut because I'm a Buffalo Bills fan over players. I love players, of course. You guys know that. But at the end of the day, red, white, and Bills, red, white, and blue, baby. So I'm all about the team first. So I'm not angry at the people getting cut. Sure, it stinks. Guys that have, laid the foundation for where we're at today are gone. And it's kind of frustrating. But my frustration lies with Brandon Beane and the misconception that everyone's going to now continue to think that this man is a genius, or the coin phrase wizard or wizarding, the wizardry from Brandon Beane. So before we get into more of that, we found ourselves negative 50 something in the cap this offseason. And, luckily enough, Taylor Swift, thank you for bringing in more money to the NFL, brought $14 million more dollars to each franchise. So then we're at about $40 million. And you guys know who got us in that position in the first place? Brandon Beane. So before anyone's like, oh, wow, he's a wizard, he's going to get us back to the green, he's going to make some moves, he's the one that got us in this bad position in the first place. And that's my first qualm. Secondly, just specifically about Jordan Poyer, Mitch Morse, and Trey White. You got to think about stuff, and not just people like Brandon Beane, everybody. Like, I got my business. I got to think about 5 years ahead, 10 years ahead. I can't think about next week, next year. I got to start thinking long-term all the time. So let's just say 2 years ago. 2 years ago, at the end of the season, Brandon Beane should be looking at his team and saying, this is the direction I see this team going. For example, Mitch Morse. We'll start with him. Mitch Morse, yeah. In about 3 years, 4 years, do I see Mitch Morse on this football team? And if his answer was no, at that moment, 2 years ago, he should have either drafted a center or traded Mitch Morse and drafted a center and got picks for Mitch Morse, because he's not in your long-term future. And sure, people might say, we got Ryan Bates though. Correct. But, and I could be wrong, in my opinion, Ryan Bates, his potential isn't anything more than an average at best player. He's a guy that you just want as like a break glass in case of emergency. I didn't want him replacing Mitch Morse. That was just a Band-Aid that they had. We could have, last year, there was a few good centers that we could have drafted, but Luke Whippler was one that many people know of from Ohio State. He was drafted late. We traded away our 4th-round pick to get Dalton Kincaid, lost our 4th-round pick. We reached on a 3rd-round pick in Dorian Williams. Again, he might still be a good pick, but he wasn't going in the third round for anybody. And then we got Justin Shorter in the fifth. If we never got rid of that pick, or maybe we could have traded back up again and got Luke Whippler in the sixth, then he could have sat behind Mitch Morse. And then in this situation now, when you cut Mitch Morse, okay, Luke Whippler, you're stepping in now. You got a year in the system, a year with Aaron Kromer, a year with the offensive line that we just had, and now we're ready to go. But now what they're planning, it's not even really a plan. It's just, okay, well, we solidified left tackle again because Dawkins had two left guards in the last 2 years up until this year with McGovern, and it looked great. Dawkins was fantastic. McGovern was fantastic. They were both elite offensive linemen. And you got Torrance and Brown, who played outstanding and elite as well, but they both did it for 1 year. They got to prove it again. So, again, they did fantastic, but they still got to prove it. Now what they want to do is move McGovern, who had 1 year of college experience playing center, to center, and then put David Edwards, who I also like, as the left guard. So now Dawkins is going to have 3 left guards the last 3 years after we just built great continuity, had the 6th overall offensive line in the NFL last year. As we finally fixed it after all these years. Could McGovern be a good center? Absolutely. Do I think his potential at center is better than his potential at left guard? I don't. Do I think David Edwards is going to be better than Connor McGovern was last year? I do not. I love David Edwards. I think he's great in heavy package. But now we're taking 3 steps back again after we just finally rebuilt the offensive line. And, it's just you needed to see this coming. And there's a couple of GMs in this position right now as well and I'll get into the next position, corner. We did try to replace him in the draft, but we failed. So, or as of right now, we failed. But just to end the Mitch Morse thing, you didn't see Mitch Morse in your future, right? You should have already drafted it because the last 2 years, there was a lot of great centers in the draft that we passed up on. Not just last year, but the year before that could have learned under Mitch Morse, and then you're not losing Mitch Morse for nothing. That's the other thing. We're not getting anything back for these guys, and we're losing them, and we don't have their replacements ready. Corner, however, we tried drafting Kyer Elam. Hasn't worked out yet. So I'll give the Beane the credit there. He tried drafting Kyer Elam. Didn't work out how he expected so far. But then we did the Miami Dolphins route. When they drafted Xavier Howard's replacement, he didn't work. Instead of trying to draft again, they paid for Jalen Ramsey. We paid for Rasul Douglas. So, and that's when you find yourself in these cap situations because you're not properly replacing these guys. When you're drafting, when you have key guys coming up, I might not pay them. They might not be in my future. That's when you hit the draft. So then you don't have to pay money for all these people and then kick the can down the road like Brandon Beane likes to do. And that's why you're negative 50 in the cap. That's why the Saints are negative 80. That's why the Dolphins we're negative 40. That's why these things happen because you want to keep kicking cans down the road and restructuring and all that crap. So that's another one, Trey White. We re-signed him after, we extended him after, a season-ending injury. Then he had another one. Then you just caught him and let him go. So after that first injury, we should have started thinking, is he our long-term future? And that's the main point of this. Like, I don't care about people getting cut, but you really got to think about this. Why, if we knew that we weren't going to keep AJ Epinesa, if we don't keep him, why weren't we drafting more edges? Why were our defensive tackle, besides Ed Oliver, if we didn't think we were going to make certain people our long-term answer, why would we just keep getting one-year options like Jordan Phillips and Tim Settle? And then lastly, Jordan Poyer. When I was wanting to make this video yesterday, we didn't have Taylor Rapp yet. So as of right now, we got Taylor Rapp and we got DeMar Hamlin as our safeties on our roster. I don't count Cam Lewis because Cam Lewis can be a corner. And I think he'll be listed as a corner. And, a lot of Bills Mafia I've seen, I love our fan base sometimes, but I love our fan base, but sometimes they get frustrating when I went on someone else's live video after Poyer got cut. And in the chat, all I saw was, what's his name? Christian Benford and Rasul Douglas and Tyron Johnson, they can all play safety. Why is everyone's first thought, which corners of ours can we convert to safety? Usually convert a corner to safety when they're coming near the end of their lifespan at corner and they're losing the step. Rasul Douglas was elite last year. He's not ready to play safety. He doesn't need to play safety yet. Christian Benford is a young buck who's progressing as a corner. And it's just That frustrates me. But it goes back to my point. We extended Poyer last year when he took a pay cut to stay with us. If you were just going to cut him again this year, why did we even sign him? Didn't Beane sit down and say, I don't see Jordan Poyer in our future plans, so why are we going to give him this deal? We didn't have to be in this situation. And of course, Brandon Beane's made some great moves. I love Brandon Beane. This isn't a I hate Brandon Beane, because I do like Brandon Beane a lot. And I'll stick to this throughout as long as I live. And he said it to himself. He said about drafting Josh Allen. He said, if I got it wrong, I wasn't going to be here anyway. And if I got it right, no one's going to give a shit. And that's exactly why he's still here, because he hit on Josh Allen. And just the last thought about the way we've drafted. How many players besides Josh Allen have we drafted early? I'm not talking about the Matt Milanos or the Teron Johnsons of the world. How many players have we drafted early, rounds 1 through 3, that the whole NFL knew year one, that everyone talked about, that everyone was afraid of? I can't really think of anybody besides Trey White. But yeah, this is going to be an interesting offseason. I really don't want to see McGovern at center, not because I don't think he can do it, because we, as our fan base, we know how bad our offensive line has been up until this past season. So now you're going to move it around again. When you got great rookie like Osiris Torrance, who played absolutely phenomenal, he's got to do it again this year, because it can't just be one and done. He's got to prove it again. And Spencer Brown, most improved player, he played fantastic too. But he's got to also prove it again as well. Because if either of those two take a step back, it might hurt the next one. If Torrance takes a step back, Brown might take a step back because he's worried about Torrance. Now, if Edwards isn't as good as McGovern, because Dawkins and McGovern, man, they were just fantastic together. And if McGovern's gone and you put Edwards there, they're not going to have the same chemistry. Edwards is good, but he's not going to be as good as McGovern. So this is going to be interesting. We got 11 draft picks, so we will see what happens. I would personally prefer to draft a center. And I know, he's a rookie. What do you expect from him? Wouldn't you rather have McGovern there? I want a rookie who's got great potential and take lumps at center with veterans around him like McGovern and Dawkins to help him. It would have been nice to have Mitch Morrison, but we don't have that. We also have Alec Anderson now as a backup. We're going to need to draft safeties. We're going to need to draft D tackles. Maybe a backup linebacker in the later rounds. Maybe an edge if we don't sign Epinesa. We still have a lot of holes in this team. And I know we're going to kick the can down the road more and restructure guys like Allen and, maybe Diggs. We also renegotiated Vaughn, which was huge, because renegotiating isn't kicking the can down the road like restructuring is. So renegotiating means he still only has 3 guaranteed years, but the money's smaller now. So we can still get rid of him next year and not have to pay him, because the contract was 6 years, $58 million guaranteed. All $58 million of that was guaranteed in the first 3 years. And then if he plays a 4th year, we pay him more. And the 5th year, we pay him more, and it can go up to 120. So we're going to cut him next year, probably. If I had to guess, we're probably going to cut Vaughn next year, no matter how good he does, because of the money. So that was nice. That's going to help us out a lot. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. Well, we got to be cap compliant by the 13th. We'll be signing some cheap labor free agents, and I'm sure we'll trade up and trade down in the draft, and it's going to be interesting, but we'll be talking more about that. What we're going to do once the draft talk starts heating up more for us, we're going to take turns on Nickel City Mafia, Go Bills Podcast, and Red, White, and Bills. And we're going to do one position on one channel, then the next, and recycle. And then just, so we'll be bouncing all over the place. And again, Saturday, Red, White, and Ruthless is going to be back on with Brett from the Go Bills Podcast on Nickel City Mafia, Saturdays at 8:30. And we'll probably talk about this more. I just want to give my personal thought quick, because I haven't made a video in forever. So if you're new, like the video, subscribe. Let me know your opinions in the chat. In the comment section. Love to talk about it more. And if you like McGovern going to center, if you agree with me on the Brandon Beane not being prepared for this situation, or what you think you would have preferred him do leading up to now, or if you think I'm an idiot, tell me, because we're not all going to agree, and that's what I care about most, is everyone having a voice and an opinion. So I want to hear them. Thanks, guys. Go Bills. See you next time.